Jesus feeds 5,000 people from the Bible. One morning, a young boy came out of his front door and he saw crowds of people hurrying along the road. They were all going to the fields near where he lived. And he said to one of the people, "What's happening? Where are you all going?" And somebody said to him, "Haven't you heard that Jesus, the great man, is coming today and he will be speaking to us in the fields?" Well, this boy had heard much about Jesus. He'd heard of the miracles that Jesus had done. He'd heard that blind people had got their sight back. He'd heard that deaf people were able to hear. And he'd heard that people that were paralysed and couldn't walk were brought to Jesus, and all Jesus did was lay a hand on them and they were walking again. Well, this boy very much wanted to go into the fields and hear Jesus. So he went into his house and he said to his mother, "Can I go into the fields today, Mum, with these people? I really want to hear Jesus." "Yes, you can go," said his mum. "I'll make you some lunch first." Well, his mum made him 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, put them in a bag, and off the boy went. He was soon in the fields, and there were crowds and crowds and crowds of people in the fields. The boy sat down, and Jesus began to speak to them. And the boy thought, what a lovely man, what a kind and gentle man. His voice was gentle and kind. And when he was talking to the people, the boy could see the love that Jesus had for all these people. And he so much wanted to hear more and more from Jesus. And Jesus talked to the people and he told them the wonderful stories. And he told them about the kingdom of God. And this boy, he sat and listened all day. Jesus was very kind to the people. There were people there coming to him and saying, "Could you heal me?" And Jesus touched them and they were healed. And many things that boy saw that day. Now, as the day wore on, the sun was beginning to go down and it was beginning to get a bit chilly. And the disciples, that was Jesus' friends, were said to him, "Master, we think we ought to send these people away now because they've come a long way and they've had nothing to eat all day. And they really ought to start making their way home, or at least go somewhere where they can buy something to eat." And Jesus said, it's all right, you can give them something to eat." And the disciples said, "Well, what can we give? We haven't got any food." And then the boy overheard this conversation and he remembered he had 5 loaves and 2 fish. He went forward and touched Jesus' arm and said, Sir, I have 5 loaves and 2 fish." And Jesus looked at the boy and smiled at him and said to him, "That's very kind of you. That's just what we could use." And he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish off the boy and said to the disciples, "Now you go round to these crowds of people and tell them to sit down in groups of about 50. And the disciples knew better than to argue with Jesus, and so they were going round all crowds of people. There were about 5,000 people there, saying to them, "Will you all now please sit down in groups of 50? We're going to have something to eat." Well, the people did just that. And the disciples said to each other, "Well, I hope Jesus can do something." But one of the disciples who had great faith in Jesus said, "It's all right, he'll know what to do." They went back to Jesus, and Jesus had been praying over the 5 loaves and 2 fish, and he started to break them and giving them to the disciples to take to the people. And there was plenty for everybody. Not one person went hungry. The disciples were going round the groups and they were saying, "Anybody want any more? Oh, want some more over here? Want some more over there?" And everybody had a real good feed. The boy certainly had a good feed. And finally, when nobody could eat another mouthful, the disciples were still saying, "Does anybody want any more? There's plenty left." And the people were patting their bellies and saying, "Oh no, we really can't eat any more." And Jesus said, "Well, take the baskets round and pick up all the leftovers." And 12 baskets were filled with what was left over. Well, the people eventually got up to go, and the boy said goodbye to Jesus and he went home. And his mother said to him, "Have you had a good day?" The boy said, "Oh, it's been a wonderful day," as he sat down in the chair. And his mum said, "Well, you must be hungry now. I'll be getting your tea soon." And the boy said, "Oh, Mum, I couldn't eat a thing. I'm full." And his mum said, "Well, how can you be full? You've only had 5 loaves and 2 fish, and that was a long time ago." Well, the boy told his mum what Jesus had done with the food. His mum found the story hard to believe, but she knew her boy didn't tell lies. and she knew that he would never make up a story like that. Well, I believe that that boy grew up to be a follower of Jesus, and I hope you do as well. God bless you.